Hello, Christina Red Soul. Thanks for tuning into this video. Happy Wednesday to each and every one of you, and I hope you all are doing well. You see that the background is different than usual, and I'll try to do as many videos as I can from this space because, for one thing, it's more comfortable. I'm actually sitting at a desk. No, you may not see my full body as much as you would if I were at home because I'm sitting upright on something. Um, and I'm not as tired as well. So it's the middle of the day. This is the best way to upload this, and then I have better lighting as well. So after this video, just be sure to share, subscribe, and like the video, and of course share it with your friends if you can. Now, I got an update this morning about charges being dropped about the Rayshard Brooks case. Not charges, I'm sorry, on the police officers. They were found not guilty as I hoped because they didn't do anything wrong but defend themselves. And as many times as people, not just this case, but any case, and my first question to them, I don't know what else do you expect the cops to do? Just let the person go? Because the man had their taser. All right. So let's see what type of ruckus is going on here. Charges dropped against Atlanta officers in Rayshard Brooks shooting. So the two officers, you can see the full video on YouTube. So an officer approached his car, knocked on his window a couple of times and said, what's going on, my man? You all right? And because it just so happens, as the story indicates, that he was sleeping, pretty much passed out. Now, who knows how long he was there? In addition to alcohol, I'm guessing he was probably on something else, maybe cocaine. Because if it were marijuana, they would have smelled that. Obviously. So the officer tells him to pull over before his partner shows up. Just pull over somewhere. So once he pulls off, leaves the drive-through, not holding up the line, the officer, asked for his ID or asked him that. He didn't ask him to step out. So several times he had to repeat himself. So that's why I'm guessing this Brooks guy may have been on something else, for the officer to continue telling him, repeating himself like orders and repeating questions to him over again. And so this is what really blew my mind. The officer asked him, "Where are you?" Brooks' first answer, "Florida." The officer said, "No." And then I believe he said, he guessed Fort Lauderdale. He never guessed Atlanta, where he actually was. So then his partner shows up, take a few tests. Of course, he felt he was above the blood alcohol level. And so that's when they attempted to arrest him, and he scuffled. Long story short, Brooks takes the taser, fires at the officer, and the one officer shot him in the back a couple of times to defend himself. So it's actually settled because, believe it or not, we don't think of these things. Even something that you don't think, like a ballpoint pen, can be a weapon. I mean, you could stick somebody, or a sharp pencil, but we don't think of these things. So the taser being a weapon, the officer defended himself. So it starts off by two Atlanta officers that shot and killed Brooks outside the Wendy's restaurant in June 2020 will not face charges for using deadly force, according to authorities on Tuesday. So here's an attorney. I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm not going to even say it. I would just call him Mr. Pete. Okay, Mr. Pete, Executive Director of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, said Officer Garrett Rolfe, who shot Brooks twice in the back, and Officer Devin Bronson of the Atlanta Police Department faced a dynamic situation that was quickly evolving. Such factors prompt the special prosecutor to drop the charges against the officers. Okay, so that's good that officers these days are now carrying body cams on them, and people, and I've seen a lot of cases. Sometimes I entertain myself here in this office after lunch, seeing video clips of police officers being super nice to these people for like 20 to 40 minutes, and then they want to act out. I'm talking about the people they pull over. Okay, they have a lot of most of them, most police officers that I've seen, or even with me, they're very patient. Let's see. Okay, June 12th, 2020, they responded to a call about a man who fell asleep at the wheel while waiting in the drive-through lane of a Wendy's restaurant in South Atlanta. Okay, and then it goes into the approach, nearly 40 minutes for concluding that this man had too much alcohol in his system. What I don't understand, I don't know if he came from a bar, it doesn't say, or if he drank at home and decided to go get something to eat, because he said he went to go get something to eat for his kids or something like that. That late, first off, I didn't believe him because it was a little bit too late, and I don't think children stay up after midnight just to get some Wendy's. Maybe White Castle, but Wendy's, no. I don't know about that. Because White Castle, I mean, it's not here in Texas, but it's mostly northern. Some areas in the south is called White Crystal, for those of you who are in the deep south states like Mississippi or whatnot. So the patrol car and the body cam footage from the officers revealed that Brooks admitting that he consumed alcohol before his encounter with law enforcement. Now, if you're gonna stop somebody, I hold the bartenders responsible. But again, we don't know where he was coming from. He may have drank at home once again and then walked out to decide to get something to eat. And people, well, I'm guilty of this as well, tend to think they are not as impaired or disoriented as they are until usually they stand up and like, whoa, okay, let me sit back down. Or, not realizing how impaired they are from alcohol. But again, I think this guy was consuming some illegal drugs on top of this. I mean, for him to be unconscious for this long. So, it continues with the firing and ultimately killing this person. Now it says, based on the facts and circumstances confronting the officers in the case, it is my conclusion the use of deadly force, this is Mr. P speaking, was objectively reasonable and that they did not act with the criminal intent. The Associated Press reports that Mr. P called it a peaceful encounter that became a violent one. And it's usually how it is when the other person is guilty of something. Okay, so authorities terminated them the following day. And then in May 2020, after a board review determined the city did not follow the proper procedure in disciplining the officer who had been on the force for 6 years. Okay, that's not really a long time. Excuse me. I've worked here for at this place for 5. Okay, I'm gonna close with this. No, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time because it concludes with BLM and these other demonic groups that doesn't benefit Black Americans. So I'm gonna close with this quote and maybe some closing words here. So the officers that are they're still employed, but they are currently on administrative duty. Both officers undergo Georgia Post recertification and training. I don't agree with that because they didn't do anything wrong. Okay, excuse me, Mr. P. Sorry, I just ate lunch. Mr. P just talks about Black Lives Matters and the victims and understanding the encounters with the police between police officers and Black Americans at the times that can be very violent and violent. Okay, so unfortunately, he paid the consequences that cost him his life. Had he complied with the police, yes, he would have gone to jail, but he would have still been alive to see his children. But again, that could have been the drugs talking. He thinking he invincible, like Rodney King, for example, who tried to outrun the police. And then when he finally stopped, the other two that were with him had common sense to go home. But he decided the cops had a difficult time taking him down. Now, you don't know this whole story because they cut out the part only when the cops were hitting him with the club because he wouldn't stay down. They tased him. They tried to tackle with him. There was like 5 officers on him, and then he pulled them off. I mean, this is all on video, but again, they cut the tape just to make the black kids angry. So that's all I have for you. Christina of Red Soul, pray for our nation, pray for our brothers and sisters in the persecuted church, and I'll talk to you super soon.